Part 2, The Emotional Landscape of Investing and Spending. Chapter 4, The Grip of Fear and Greed. Welcome to Chapter 4. We've spent time understanding the hidden scripts and personal history that form your unique money blueprint. Now, we move from the unconscious foundations to the more immediate, powerful forces that can hijack your financial decisions in real time: emotion. Specifically, we're talking about the twin titans of financial behavior: fear and greed. These aren't just abstract concepts, they are primal, visceral emotions that have influenced human decision-making for millennia. In the financial world, they are the silent drivers behind booms, busts, irrational exuberance, and widespread panic. If you've ever bought into an investment at its peak, only to see it crash, or sold off your holdings in a panic, only to watch them rebound, you've likely felt the strong pull of fear or greed. How primal emotions drive irrational decisions. Think about it. We often pride ourselves on being rational beings, making logical choices based on facts and data. Yet, when it comes to money, our logic can easily be overridden by a surge of emotion. Greed whispers promises of quick riches, effortless wealth, and endless prosperity. It pushes us to take on too much risk, to chase speculative investments, to ignore warning signs, and to believe that this time is different. It's the feeling that makes you want to buy into every hot trend, doubling down on what's already done well, because the thought of missing out on even more gains feels unbearable. Greed blinds us to risk and inflates our sense of optimism to dangerous levels. Fear, on the other hand, screams warnings of imminent disaster, irreversible losses, and financial ruin. It paralyzes us, makes us sell at the worst possible time, avoid investing altogether, or hoard cash when opportunities abound. Fear makes every piece of negative news feel like an existential threat, shrinking our perspective to only the downside. It forces us to act decisively, often impulsively, just to escape the perceived pain. These emotions aren't inherently bad. A healthy dose of caution, rooted in fear, can prevent reckless decisions, and a desire for growth, rooted in greed, can drive ambition. The problem arises when they become extreme and untamed, turning into financial impulses that override all reason and data. The herd mentality and the fear of missing out, FOMO. Beyond personal impulses, fear and greed are highly contagious, often leading to collective irrationality, commonly known as herd mentality. Imagine a flock of birds taking flight simultaneously, or a crowd surging in one direction. Humans, too, have a deep-seated psychological tendency to conform to the actions of a larger group, especially in situations of uncertainty. When everyone around you seems to be getting rich from a particular investment, the urge to join in, regardless of your own research or logic, can be overwhelming. This is where fear of missing out, or FOMO, truly comes into play. FOMO isn't just about missing profits, it's about missing the experience, missing the status, missing the validation that others seem to be getting. It's the uncomfortable feeling that others are having success, satisfaction, or pleasure that you are not. In investing, FOMO drives people to buy into bubbles, to chase fads, and to pay exorbitant prices for assets simply because everyone else is doing it, and they don't want to be left behind. This often leads to buying at the top of a market cycle, right before the inevitable correction. Conversely, the same herd mentality, fueled by fear, can lead to panic selling. When the market turns sour, and others are frantically selling, the fear of losing even more money can compel you to join the stampede, often selling at the absolute bottom, locking in your losses, just as the market is poised to recover. This cyclical pattern of emotional buying high and selling low is a hallmark of investor irrationality. Strategies to recognize and mitigate fear and greed-driven actions. So, how do we tame these powerful emotions and prevent them from derailing our financial plans? It begins with awareness and deliberate action. 1. Acknowledge and name the emotion. The first step is to recognize when fear or greed is surfacing. When you feel an intense urge to buy a skyrocketing stock, or an overwhelming panic to sell everything when the market drops, pause. Ask yourself, is this a rational decision based on my financial plan, or is this emotion speaking? Simply acknowledging the feeling can reduce its power. 2. Stick to a predetermined plan. The most effective defense against emotional decision-making is a well-thought-out financial plan. This includes your asset allocation, your investment goals, and your risk tolerance. When fear or greed strikes, refer back to your plan. Did you decide to buy more if the market drops, or sell if an asset reaches a certain valuation? Having a roadmap prevents you from making impulsive U-turns based on volatile emotions. 3. Automate and diversify. Automate your savings and investments as much as possible. Set up regular contributions to your retirement accounts or investment portfolio. This removes the emotional component from consistent saving and investing. Diversification, spreading your investments across different asset classes, also helps. It dampens the emotional impact of any single investment's performance, preventing extreme fear or greed from taking over. 4. Practice patience and a long-term perspective. Warren Buffett often says, the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. Remind yourself that market fluctuations are normal. Focus on your long-term goals. A short-term dip or spike rarely impacts a truly long-term plan. 5. Separate news from noise. The media thrives on sensationalism, often amplifying fear and greed. Be selective about your information sources. Avoid constant market watching, which can fuel emotional reactions. Look for factual analysis rather than speculative headlines. 6. Seek counterarguments. When you feel a strong emotional pull, either extreme optimism or extreme pessimism, actively seek out information that contradicts your current feeling. If you're wildly enthusiastic about an investment, research its potential downsides. If you're panicked, look for historical market recoveries and reasons for long-term optimism. 7. Take a cool-off period. Before making any significant financial decision driven by strong emotion, implement a waiting period, 24 hours, a few days, or even a week. This allows the emotional intensity to subside and gives your rational mind a chance to re-engage. Taming the grip of fear and greed is a continuous process, not a one-time fix. It requires constant vigilance and a commitment to your disciplined financial self. But by recognizing these powerful forces and having strategies in place to mitigate them, you empower yourself to make wiser decisions, even when the financial world around you seems to be losing its head. In our next chapter, we'll continue our exploration of cognitive traps, delving into specific biases that often blind us to financial realities, even when emotions aren't running quite so high. Chapter 5. Cognitive biases that blind us. In our last chapter, we explored the primal forces of fear and greed, those powerful emotions that can sweep us away in a tide of irrational financial decisions. But beyond these intense feelings, our minds are also prone to more subtle, almost invisible, shortcuts that can lead us astray. These are called cognitive biases. Think of cognitive biases as mental, blind spots, or default settings, in our brain that, while often efficient in daily life, can systematically distort our perception of financial reality. They're not about intense emotion, but rather about the inherent wiring of our brains that can lead to predictable errors in judgment. Understanding these biases is like having a map to the common potholes on the road to financial wisdom. Let's explore some of the most common ones that tend to blind us in the world of money. The subtle traps of the mind. 1. Confirmation bias. The echo chamber effect. Imagine you've just read an article that confirms your belief that a certain stock is about to soar. What do you do next? If you're like most people, you'll instinctively seek out more information that supports that initial positive view. This is confirmation bias at play. We have a powerful tendency to favor, interpret, and recall information in a way that confirms our existing beliefs or hypotheses. In action, if you believe the market is about to crash, you'll unconsciously pay more attention to news headlines predicting doom and dismiss positive economic reports. If you're excited about a new investment, you'll seek out articles praising it and ignore any dissenting opinions. The blind spot, it creates an intellectual echo chamber, preventing us from considering contrary evidence that might be crucial for a balanced decision. We stop being objective seekers of truth and become selective gatherers of supporting facts. To counteract, consciously challenge your own assumptions. When you're about to make a decision, actively search for information that disproves your initial idea. Play devil's advocate with yourself. Seek out diverse opinions, especially from those who disagree with you, and truly listen to their reasoning. 2. Loss aversion, the pain of losing. Consider this: how would you feel if you found $100? Pretty good, right? Now, how would you feel if you lost $100? Most people report that the pain of losing $100 is significantly more intense than the pleasure of gaining $100. This is loss aversion, our psychological tendency to prefer avoiding losses over acquiring equivalent gains. In action, this bias often makes us hold on to losing investments for too long, hoping they'll come back, rather than cutting our losses and reinvesting elsewhere. The pain of realizing the loss is simply too great. Conversely, it can make us excessively cautious, avoiding potentially beneficial risks because the fear of even a small loss is overwhelming. The blind spot. It distorts our risk assessment, making us take irrational actions, like refusing to sell a losing stock, or miss out on opportunities, like avoiding a good investment, solely to prevent the feeling of loss. To counteract, adopt a long-term, objective view. Understand that investment losses are often a normal part of the process, and sometimes cutting a losing position is the smartest move. Set stop-loss orders or predefined exit strategies for investments to remove emotion from the decision. Remind yourself that money is fungible. A dollar lost is a dollar lost, regardless of how it was lost. Focus on the opportunity cost of holding on to a bad investment. 3. Anchoring bias, the first impression trap. Imagine you're negotiating the price of a house or a car. The very first number mentioned, the anchor, tends to strongly influence subsequent negotiations, even if it's an arbitrary figure. This is anchoring bias, our tendency to rely too heavily on the first piece of information offered, that anchor, when making decisions. In action, if you first saw a stock trading at a very high price, you might anchor to that number, believing it's cheap now even if its underlying fundamentals have deteriorated. Or if a financial advisor initially pitches you a product with a high expected return, that number might become your anchor, making lower, more realistic returns seem less attractive. The blind spot, it prevents us from objectively evaluating new information or making decisions based on current facts, instead tethering us to an initial, often irrelevant, data point. To counteract, be aware of the first numbers presented to you. Always conduct your own independent research and valuation before accepting any initial figures. Ask yourself, if I didn't know that first number, what would my objective assessment be? Challenge anchors by generating your own estimates and considering a wide range of values. 4. Overconfidence bias, the "I knew it all along" fallacy. Most people, when asked, rate themselves as above average drivers or intelligent individuals. This pervasive belief in our own abilities, often beyond what the evidence suggests, is overconfidence bias. In action, in finance, this can manifest as overtrading, believing you can consistently beat the market. It might lead you to take on excessive risk in investments, feeling immune to downturns, or to dismiss expert advice because you think your own judgment is superior. After a successful trade, overconfidence can swell, leading to even riskier bets. The blind spot, it prevents us from acknowledging our limitations, learning from mistakes, or seeking necessary external advice. We might dismiss valid warnings simply because we believe we know better. To counteract, keep a detailed investment journal, noting down your rationale for each decision, not just the outcome. This forces you to confront your successes and failures objectively. Actively seek out constructive criticism. When making a decision, consider the potential for all outcomes, not just the ones you predict. Practice humility. 5. Availability heuristic, the vivid memory trap. If you've recently seen a news report about a plane crash, you might temporarily overestimate the risk of flying, even though statistically, it's incredibly safe. This is the availability heuristic, our tendency to judge the likelihood of an event based on how easily examples or instances come to mind. In action, After a major financial scandal or a highly publicized stock market crash, people might become overly cautious about investing, even years later, because those vivid negative memories are easily accessible. Conversely, hearing many stories about overnight millionaire crypto investors might make you believe such outcomes are common and easily achievable, leading to impulsive, high-risk investments. The blind spot: it causes us to misjudge probabilities, making decisions based on the emotional impact or recency of information rather than its actual statistical relevance. To counteract, rely on data and statistics rather than anecdotes or sensationalized headlines. Actively seek out broader, more representative information. Challenge yourself to recall counterexamples. Just because something is easily remembered doesn't mean it's common or likely. Becoming a more aware financial decision maker. Recognizing these cognitive biases isn't about becoming a perfect financial robot. It's about becoming a more aware and intentional decision maker. It's about understanding the default settings of your brain and learning when to override them. As you navigate your financial life, cultivate a habit of pausing before significant decisions. Ask yourself: am I just seeking information that agrees with me? Confirmation bias. Am I holding on to this because I hate to admit a loss? Loss aversion. Am I overly influenced by the first number I heard? Anchoring bias. Am I taking this risk because I genuinely understand it, or just because I feel lucky? Overconfidence bias. Am I making this decision based on a recent, vivid story, rather than actual data? Availability heuristic. By asking these questions, you create a vital moment of introspection, allowing your rational mind to step in before these subtle biases can fully take hold and lead you astray. This constant self-assessment is a powerful tool in mastering your money mindset. In our next chapter, we'll continue our exploration of the emotional landscape, diving into the paradox of choice and the constant battle between instant gratification and long-term goals. Chapter 6: The Paradox of Choice and Instant Gratification. In our journey through the emotional landscape of finance, we've explored the primal forces of fear and greed, and the subtle yet powerful influence of cognitive biases. Now, let's turn our attention to two pervasive modern challenges that profoundly impact our money mindset: the paradox of choice and the constant pull of instant gratification. These aren't just minor inconveniences, they are deeply rooted psychological phenomena that can lead to financial stagnation, regret, and a perpetual feeling of being overwhelmed, even when we have more opportunities than ever before. The paradox of choice: when more leads to less. In today's world, we are seemingly blessed with endless options. From investment platforms to savings accounts, credit cards to budgeting apps, and an infinite array of consumer goods, the choices are staggering. On the surface, more choice seems unequivocally good. It implies freedom, customization, and the ability to find the perfect fit. However, social psychologist Barry Schwartz, in his influential work on the paradox of choice, argues that beyond a certain point, more choices actually make us less happy, less satisfied, and often, less likely to act at all. Decision paralysis: faced with too many options, our brains can freeze. The sheer volume of information to process, compare, and analyze can lead to what's known as decision paralysis. We become overwhelmed, fearful of making the wrong choice, and so we make no choice at all. This can manifest financially as never opening an investment account because there are too many brokers, or never choosing a retirement plan because the options seem too complex. Analysis paralysis: even if we manage to start the process, the desire to find the absolute best option can lead to endless research and comparison, delaying action indefinitely. We spend so much time analyzing that opportunities pass us by. Regret and dissatisfaction: when we finally do make a choice from a vast array of options, we often feel less satisfied with our decision. Why? Because we're keenly aware of all the alternatives we didn't choose, and our minds can't help but compare. This can lead to persistent feelings of regret or the nagging thought that we could have done better, even if our choice was objectively good. In financial terms, this paradox means many people never start investing, never optimize their savings, or procrastinate on crucial financial planning because the sheer volume of products, strategies, and advice feels insurmountable. It's the silent killer of action, keeping us stuck in indecision. The struggle for immediate pleasure, instant gratification. Alongside the paralysis of too many options, we face an equally powerful, perhaps even more insidious, challenge: the human brain's natural inclination towards instant gratification. Our brains are wired to prioritize immediate rewards over delayed ones. It's why a small treat now often feels more appealing than a larger reward in the distant future. In our modern consumer society, everything is designed to feed this desire for immediacy. Buy now, pay later, credit cards, installment plans, and apps that allow instant purchases with delayed payments make it incredibly easy to consume without feeling the immediate financial sting. One-click shopping, the friction between desire and purchase has been almost entirely removed. A thought becomes an item delivered to your door in hours. Social media reinforcement, the constant stream of new products, lifestyles, and experiences displayed by others fuels a desire to acquire instantly to keep up. The struggle between immediate pleasure and long-term financial goals is a constant battle for our willpower. Every time you choose to save for retirement instead of buying that new gadget, or invest in education instead of taking an expensive vacation, you are actively choosing delayed gratification. This choice goes against a deeply ingrained biological preference. The consequence of consistently succumbing to instant gratification is clear: a depletion of future resources, accumulation of debt, and a perpetual struggle to build meaningful wealth. Techniques for delaying gratification and automating good choices. So, how do we navigate this landscape of overwhelming choice and the relentless siren song of instant pleasure? The answer lies in two powerful strategies: simplification and automation. 1. Reduce choice where possible, simplification. Limit your options. If you're overwhelmed by investment choices, start with a simple, diversified index fund. Don't try to find the perfect one, find a good enough one and get started. Set default choices. If you're choosing a retirement plan at work, pick the simplest option initially, even if you plan to refine it later. The goal is to overcome paralysis and act. Curate your consumption, unsubscribe from marketing emails that constantly tempt you. Limit your browse of online stores. Reduce exposure to triggers that spark impulsive desires. 2. Make the default option the right option, automation. This is perhaps the single most effective strategy for delaying gratification and ensuring long-term financial success. By automating your good choices, you remove the need for daily willpower and bypass the instant gratification trap. Automate savings. Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your savings or investment accounts immediately after payday. Make it pay yourself first and treat it as a non-negotiable bill. If the money isn't easily accessible, you're less likely to spend it. Automate debt repayment. Set up automatic, fixed payments for credit cards or loans that are higher than the minimums. This steadily reduces your debt without you having to consciously initiate each payment. Automate bill payments. Ensure all your recurring bills are paid automatically. This reduces stress, avoids late fees, and frees up mental energy. The pre-commitment strategy. Make decisions about future money today, when your rational mind is in control. For example, before you get your bonus, decide exactly how much will go to savings, investments, or debt repayment. This prevents the bonus from feeling like free money to be instantly spent. By intentionally structuring your financial environment to limit overwhelming choices and to make saving and investing the default action, you transform your relationship with money. You move from constantly battling your impulses to effortlessly aligning your actions with your long-term goals. This isn't about rigid deprivation, but about intentional design. It's about recognizing that true financial freedom isn't just about having money, but about having the mental space and behavioral habits that allow you to grow it, responsibly enjoy it, and build the future you desire. In our next part, we'll shift gears from diagnosis to action, exploring how to cultivate a resilient money mindset through proactive habits and positive financial discipline. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please don't forget to like, comment and share this video. Also don't forget to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon, so that you don't miss out the next video. For now, you can continue with the next video or can go through the complete playlist provided here.